Welcome to Module 2. In this module, we are going to talk about words of affirmation. That is the first of 5 love languages that we're going to discuss throughout this training. And when we talk about words of affirmation, we are talking about words that convey affection or words that are used to encourage a child, to offer praise, words that are used to redirect a child in a positive way. And then they're always accompanied by a gentle tone, sometimes by physical touch, and then loving facial expressions. Children who speak the primary love language of words of affirmation need to hear the words that they're loved, and they need to hear positive things about themselves. So when you think about giving a child a compliment, for example, that is one way of speaking to a child through words of affirmation. The important part is that when you offer those words of affirmation, that they are true and truly from your heart, that they're not hollow praise. And so when we offer words of affirmation, you don't want to tell a child that they are doing well at something that they're really not, because children, even young children, can tell when that is not accurate. And you want to build that trust in your relationship. So use words of affirmation to give true and real compliments that you really do believe yourself. The primary love language of words of affirmation offers that encouragement. We also talk about responsive care. Responsive care when you work with young children is very important because you want to make sure that you are responding to the needs of the individual children in your care or in your classroom. And I touched on that in our introduction lecture in our first module. But it's very important that you respond to children when they are reaching out to you, and that you notice them, and that the words that you speak to them show that you are listening and paying attention. Again, you will use those words of affirmation for positive redirection. So when there is a behavioral issue, you want to use words of affirmation to give the child some positivity instead of just correction. So we talk about when you want to remove a behavior that might be a challenging behavior, you need to be able to replace it with something that's positive. And so when you use positive redirection, it's the same idea. You want to use positive words to say, instead of doing this, we can do this, and offer a positive option to that negative option that's happening. And you want your words of affirmation to be specific. So, not just saying, oh, you came in the classroom well today. You want to tell them, you came in so quietly just as I asked you. Use specific words so that the child's not wondering exactly what you're talking about and what you are trying to redirect them in or give them feedback on. Praise and affection are 2 different things. Praise has to do with what a child does. It's praise for something that a child has done well, that you are labeling it and being specific and saying exactly what it is that they've done well. Whereas affection is really expressing appreciation for who the child is. And we don't ever want to withhold affection. There are times when we don't want to give praise because, like I mentioned, we don't want to give hollow or empty or false praise, but we never want to withhold affection because a child has had a difficult behavior. All children need affection and deserve affection, and so we want to make sure that we are not withholding that in response to a behavior problem. And we also want to remember that we want to encourage children. And so when I say when we remove a negative behavior, we need to replace it with a positive, that goes along with this quote that's at the bottom of our screen. The greatest enemy of encouragement is anger. So, you can really break a child's spirit. And if they feel like you feel that they're bad or you feel that they can't do something, they're going to live up to that. Whereas if you try to give them a positive goal and you put out there to them that you believe that they can do it, they will try, when you have a relationship with them, they will try to please you and to meet that goal and to meet what you believe they can do. Each week we're going to talk a little bit about filling the tank. I mentioned it in our introduction lecture. And when you fill the tank, again, that's in reference to a child having a depleted, if you think about it like the bucket that we talked about with filling someone's bucket, you want to put positive things in that bucket or in the tank. And when one negative thing happens or is said to a child, you are going to have to do 5 positive things to make up for that one negative thing. So if you think about how fast that can deplete a child's tank, it's pretty quick. So these are some things that you want to remember when you're offering words of affirmation. That pleasant tone of voice, that smile and eye contact, that's a connectivity thing. And children are going to, especially children whose love language primarily is words of affirmation, they're going to respond to those things. A child who needs to hear that they can do good things, they are going to respond positively to that. And so that is going to fill their tank. You can use imitation or expansion of vocalizations, and that lets them know that you heard them. You can play along with them when they're maybe making up silly words or rhymes. Narrating what a child is doing shows that you really think that they have some good ideas and you're taking note of it and paying attention to what they're doing. You only want to use positive language, especially with children whose main language is words of affirmation. There are those emergency times where you're going to have to say no if something or someone is going to get hurt. But you want to try to stay positive as much as you can, especially with those children who really need that positive word from you. And so you want to mention things that you see them doing. And one really good thing that you can do is to kind of pretend that you're letting the child overhear you bragging on them. So you pretend like you don't know that they're listening or that they can hear you, but say something good about something that they've done while they're in earshot. Because if you think about it, we're as adults like that too. If you hear someone saying something good about you and you think that they don't know you can hear them, it seems much more genuine and authentic and real. So kind of stage those little moments of telling a parent maybe something positive that has happened that the child has done that day and letting them overhear it. So your assignment this week, there's a video in this module, and the video shows a series of different parents or caregivers interacting with children. What you need to do for the assignment is watch the video, and then you're going to post one post from yourself in the discussion board, and then one in response to a co-participant. And what I want you to look at is take note of what the parents and caregivers are saying and what they're not saying. And also think about the interaction that they're having with the children in the video. Are the children getting what they need, especially if these children need those words of affirmation? You're going to observe, and then you're going to write about what they missed. What was it that the parent or caregiver should have said or should have done differently? And then you're going to post about that, and then you're going to post one post to a co-participant's post.